How can we make a difference or have an impact on getting better care? And one of the things, I think we're also familiar and connected with breast cancer specialists, whatever, surgeon, medical oncology, radiation oncology, nursing, et cetera. But we also hear from a lot of community health workers. There are a lot of women with breast cancer that are being treated in the community. And we have heard from many of these providers who would love a breast cancer 101 curriculum for them to get out in the field and learn more, because they're caring for women with breast cancer, but they don't have the special training or the expertise to learn some of the basics of breast cancer treatment management, as well as some of the specific nuances of different communities or different age groups. Believe me, when I was diagnosed in 1991, I was turning 34 years old. Young women with breast cancer, similar to you in the 80s, Selma, it wasn't that different. I believe it probably wasn't that different. It was very hard for me to find one other young woman. That's all I asked the social worker in the hospital. Just find me one other young woman with young children. I don't need a group. He's like, oh, go to a support group. I said, I don't need a group. I just need one woman with kids. That's what I needed. So it's really hard, but I want to flip it and also sort of say that we need to do this educational piece and not forget that there are community health workers that are charged with caring for a lot of women with breast cancer, and they don't have even the basic knowledge so they can give better quality care to the women they serve.
How new media, technology, social networking is really influencing consumer awareness and patient education. We're living through a very dynamic time and change in the way information is being transmitted. I mean, who would have imagined 20 years ago? I certainly can't. There'd be something called YouTube, and I can go on and I could get my health education on my computer. I mean, it was unheard of, and now it's truly a shift. So I'd like for us to talk a little bit about what does this mean for breast cancer advocates in the community?
And I think that this is a topic that really resonates with the community that our organization serves, which is young women. It's unbelievable to see the kind of information that's exchanged in our community. We have an active online community that's been in existence for over 10 years. And what's so wonderful is, I think we've all talked a lot about what peer support looks like. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer over 6 years ago, I wasn't necessarily at the point where I wanted to meet up with people. The thought of a support group was a little bit overwhelming, but Lord knows I probably spent 1,000 hours on the internet connecting with other young women who had been diagnosed with breast cancer. And some of the issues that we were talking about earlier in terms of access to information, the information that's shared peer-to-peer, I think, is so incredibly valuable. And one of the challenges that we face as advocacy organizations is how do we disseminate that information? What I love about how we work as an organization is part of the dissemination comes from us. As an organization, part of it's information that gets shared. And I know that when I go back to my hotel later today and I go onto our message boards, there will be an active discussion about what's happening here at this meeting because we have several young advocates who are in attendance. I think what's also great is we reach beyond the survivor community, and this is something that I've noticed really recently with other social media other than just, not just discussion boards, but Facebook and things like that. We have over 20,000 people on our Facebook page, and when we talk about what's going on in the breast cancer community, people are interacting. And so it's a somewhat lighter way to engage people in the issues, but it's easy and it's quick, and the ability to share information multiplies much quicker than trying to get resources out to people. So I think we're always going to have to focus on those deep and serious educational pieces, but when it comes to social media and online, it's very accessible to lots of people, and the scope can be really, really wide.
There is one fine line, though, and I don't know how others feel about this. It concerns me a bit when information isn't vetted, that what one may think applies, I'm patient or I'm person so-and-so, and this was my experience, and this is the medication I took, or this is how I was treated, and that sort of goes viral, and one begins to think, oh, well, that worked for her or him, well, that's going to work for me, and then before you know it, that person's at the doctor without really understanding, well, maybe this genomic profile was very different, your cancer's different, your pathology is different, it doesn't apply to you. So there's an area of concern.
Absolutely. I mean, we discuss it all the time. I'm sure all of our organizations are acutely aware of it. I think we deal with it in a couple of ways. One is what the educational materials that we put out. We have a program called Newly Diagnosed Resource Kits, which are available on our website at youngsurvival.org and through providers. And we have a list of questions. I'm sure this is very similar to a lot of things other organizations do, which really help people identify what is the profile of my cancer, what's appropriate for me. Individuals, if they're just diagnosed with breast cancer, may not necessarily understand all of the subtleties of different types of breast cancer, triple negative versus ER positive versus HER2 positive. But if we can at least educate them as to these are the broad strokes, and there are different subtypes of breast cancer. You need to ask your doctor what this subtype is. Not every treatment is going to be appropriate for you. And we do see it at meetings like this when there are discussions about PARP inhibitors or hormone therapies, and everybody starts to have the, oh wait, maybe I should be getting on that and I should be getting on this. I think that's really where the job of our organizations comes in, to say, new and exciting information is coming out in the world of breast cancer. Here's what we know. Here's what you should do to find out if this might be appropriate or relevant to you. And it's tough because people are craving solutions. They're craving treatment options. They're certainly craving solutions to side effects. So it's our job to really, I don't want to say temper the enthusiasm, but help better educate people about whether or not it is relevant to them.
With the new technology, I know that we are very excited about it, and because I work for an African-American female who's a 17-year survivor, she's a little older, not as computer savvy, she always has to remind me that there is still a population that is not computer savvy, and I think the researchers have to keep that in mind. Quite often we're approached to participate in research studies, and their form of recruitment is email, internet, and things like that, so we really have to keep in mind that there's still a group when you're education and prevention and trying to get that message out that are not going to be on.
And Kelly, that group is only going to widen because I look at someone like myself and I look at the younger generation, at the sorts of gadgets and technologies that excite them, that, to be honest, I doubt in my lifetime I will adapt. So as this first generation of computer literate people are becoming older, what we know is going to be obsolete at some point.
And I really think we need to remember that the grassroots efforts, the door-to-door campaigns that we've had have always worked, and they will continue to work, and we still need to not put those on the back burner and continue to use those efforts.
Even as an organization that works specifically with young women, we deal with this issue all the time. That I would like to believe that everybody's on the internet. It's a lot less expensive as a nonprofit to disseminate your information that way. But the reality is that sometimes people need a piece of paper that's handed to them. They need somebody to face-to-face ask them to participate in something. And we all learn and take in information in a different way.